I didn't realize until my death that the reason my husband never touched me was because he was deeply in love with my best friend. They loved each other their whole lives but could never be together, staying loyal in solitude. Even my best friend's professor husband lived his life like a celibate monk. After reincarnating, I grabbed the professor's hand before anyone else could. "I like you. Let's be together." His eyes darkened. "Perfect. I feel the same way." We clicked instantly, but this time, it was my husband and best friend who weren't happy about it. Chapter 1. Ravaged by lung cancer and drained of my final strength, I finally closed my eyes. But my soul didn't disappear, it simply left my body. I watched from above as my husband, just past 40, tightly embraced my childhood best friend in the hospital room. They looked like a pair of tragic lovers, pouring out their hearts. "Basil, don't be too sad. Juliet is gone now. Amanda, I'm just grateful you're still here. From now on, I'll be with you in Juliet's place. I'll even have a child for you. We'll be a family. You don't need to replace anyone. The one I've always loved is you. Basil, I love you too." Bravo. Just wow. If I weren't a ghost right now, I'd give this shameless duo a standing ovation. I thought back to when Amanda's husband died of stomach cancer. She didn't even seem that upset. It was Basil, my own husband, who got teary-eyed and took care of everything for her. He even told me she'd be all alone now and asked me to look out for her. When I comforted her, she said, "To be honest, I never loved Phineas in this life. You don't know how jealous I was of you, always having Basil by your side." I was a fool back then, completely missing the subtext. I hugged her and said, "We're family. If it makes you happy, you can treat him like your own husband." When I said that, I didn't notice Basil knocking over a plate in his flustered state, nor did I catch Amanda gazing at him with dreamy eyes. Thinking back now, what I said was horribly inappropriate. 20 years of marriage, and I never once realized they were having a secret affair. The overwhelming sense of injustice and rage became a powerful force, pulling my soul into the depths of the abyss. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in that cafe from 20 years ago. The four of us were sitting together at a group blind date. Across the table sat Phineas, Amanda's future husband who would die young. He was still youthful, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, with a face so refined he looked like he stepped out of a manga. In my past life, Amanda had said she didn't like tall guys, and after the meetup, she asked Phineas out. They got married soon after. I was left with Basil, the rough-around-the-edges guy no one picked. Day by day, we grew closer and eventually got married. But looking again now, Basil's gaze was glued to petite Amanda the whole time. I decided to make the first move. Even if we couldn't end up together, saving Phineas once would at least earn me some karma. "Professor Phineas, right? I think I like you. Want to go for a walk with me?" Amanda looked at me, clearly surprised. I usually let her pick first in situations like this. Phineas didn't say a word. I thought he'd reject me, but to my shock, he said, "Sure." He stood up and even grabbed my bag for me. "Let's go." It wasn't until we were far from the restaurant that I snapped back to reality. I looked at him apologetically. "Sorry for what I said back there. Please don't take it the wrong way. I'm not." "Not what?" Phineas smiled faintly, pushing up his glasses with his index finger. "You don't want to go on a date with me?" His smile completely disarmed my rational mind. All I could hear was the loud drumming of my own heartbeat. To be honest, Phineas wasn't conventionally attractive by modern standards. He was too delicate and slender, not someone who looked like he could handle manual labor. But when he looked at me, I genuinely heard the sound of my own heart falling for him. "Aren't you worried I'm not good enough for you, Professor?" Phineas smiled. "I think you're wonderful, Juliet." Chapter 2. In the days that followed, Amanda didn't come looking for me. She was probably too busy falling in love with Basil. I couldn't care less. I threw myself wholeheartedly into dating Phineas. Back in those days, fast-paced relationships weren't the norm. Dating meant walking around town and talking about life and dreams. When I told him I had to drop out of school to support my younger brother and that I regretted it deeply, he suddenly cut in. "Take the college entrance exam again, Juliet." "W what?" "Retake it. Diplomas will only become more important in the future." He was right. I'd been so focused on staying away from Basil and Amanda that I hadn't even thought about that. But I'd spent a lifetime as a housewife and knew nothing about this stuff. I hesitated, my confidence faltering. Do you really think I can do it? He took my hand. Believe me, Juliet, you absolutely can. I had just sat down at home when I heard someone calling at the door. I went out and found Amanda standing there, furious. Juliet, why are you stealing Phineas from me? What? Unlike me, burdened by taking care of my younger siblings and always a bit too serious, Amanda was bright and lively. The kind of girl who dreamed of dramatic, sweeping romance like in soap operas. So I had always assumed Amanda and Phineas had grown apart only after their marriage. Once married, Basil and I were busy with our own lives and rarely had deep contact with them. Basil was a skilled tradesman. He earned decent money and, unlike most macho men of the time, he was surprisingly considerate. When I was pregnant, he'd get off work early to cook for me. If I felt unwell, he'd massage my feet and chat about everyday stuff with me. Amanda saw this once when she visited and said enviously, "Your Basil really knows how to sweet talk." I was pleased to hear it, but thinking Phineas must be just as good. I said, "Phineas is an intellectual. He's probably even sweeter when he wants to be." But she frowned and shook her head. "Don't even mention it. He's such a bookworm, it's annoying just looking at him. You have no idea." On our wedding day, his mom immediately gave me the cold shoulder, and Phineas didn't say a word. Then he had the nerve to try touching me that night? Dream on. I was stunned. Wait, so you two never? Of course not. Amanda lifted her chin proudly. A woman's body and heart must be in sync to feel pleasure. Otherwise, what's the difference between us and animals? At the time, I didn't realize she had really made Phineas live like a celibate monk his whole life. It wasn't until he died of stomach cancer that Amanda came crying to me about how unfair her life had been. So, she must have hated Phineas, right? Then why was she acting now like I stole the love of her life? I frowned at her. You like Phineas? Then what the hell was Basil to you? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. But I'd already seen through it. Oh, I get it now. It's not about who he is, you're just mad I got to him first. As long as it's something I want, you suddenly think it's good. Is that it? Her face flushed red. Why, you're making things up. What kind of person do you think I am? Then what did you mean by what you just said? Unable to argue her way out, she resorted to whining. I don't care. I like Phineas now. You have to give him to me. I actually laughed out loud. What am I? Your mom? Why should I hand him over just because you said so? Even if it were a pig or a dog, I wouldn't let this ungrateful snake mess with Phineas ever again. My refusal made her stomp her foot in frustration. She was about to say more when a calm, cold voice cut through the air. Even if she were willing to let go, I wouldn't agree. Phineas had returned. He stood beneath the willow tree, his eyes like ice. He looked at Amanda with scorn. And who do you think you are? You want to make decisions for me? You don't get to. Chapter 3. Amanda's face flushed red instantly. She looked at Phineas with a wounded expression, but he remained completely unmoved. Phineas walked over and handed me a set of books. I figured it might be hard for you to get them yourself, so I bought these for you. His thoughtfulness only made Amanda more jealous. She looked like she was about to explode. She turned her head toward me, eyes full of sorrow. Juliet, we grew up together. I've always seen you as my big sister. Why are you stealing Professor Phineas from me? I really want to be with him. Please. I'm begging you. Let me have him, okay? She was crying like a tragic heroine in a drama, tears falling in perfect rhythm. But Phineas let out a cold laugh. Are you deaf? Even if she gave me up, I still wouldn't like you. His tone was filled with open contempt. I couldn't help but glance at him. Weird. At this point in time, he shouldn't be that familiar with Amanda. Should he? While I was still lost in thought, Amanda stomped off in a huff. He turned back to me. Don't you dare give me away to her. Got it? I nodded. Got it. I took the books home. I had just walked in when I was smacked hard on the back of my head. You little brat. Where did you get the money for those books? My mom stormed at me, full of fury. A friend gave them to me. What friend? Don't lie to me. Did you steal from the house? Her face was stormy. Are you insane? That money was for your brother's health supplements. He finally gets a weekend off. And I wanted to cook him something good. And you blew the money on books. Things had been so hectic that day. I'd already forgotten. I just remembered that the next day, when Phineas saw my bruised face, I felt a rare flicker of shame. Sorry, the books you bought me, my mom returned them. His face darkened slightly. I said, "Don't worry, I'll pay you back." He replied, "It's not the money I'm worried about." He sighed and didn't say anything else. That evening, Phineas came to our door carrying bags of fruit. I didn't know what he said to my mom, but after he left, she was grinning ear to ear and told me to prepare for marriage. Wow, I didn't know my daughter had such good taste. A teacher, no less. Juliet, once you make it big, don't forget your brother. I didn't say a word, just watched her gleefully head into the kitchen. It didn't matter. Once I got into college, I'd be out of here anyway. Chapter 4. I married Phineas. The day he came with fruit was actually his formal proposal. The wedding was rushed, but all the proper traditions were followed. I sent invitations to both Amanda and Basil. Neither of them showed up. During the tea ceremony, my mother-in-law suddenly asked me to bow to the ancestors. I froze for a second, remembering how Amanda once said this was how she was humiliated. My heart skipped a beat. Still, I did as told and knelt 3 times, hard enough that my forehead turned red. That made my mother-in-law laugh. She gently rubbed my sore forehead and slipped a jade bracelet onto my wrist. "We may be poor, but this is a family heirloom. I'm giving it to you." Wait, what? This was Amanda's so-called power play? I stared at the green bracelet on my wrist, a storm of emotions brewing in my chest. Phineas took my hand. "If Mom's giving it to you, just accept it." After the toasts, the guests left and the house fell silent. I sat on the wooden bed, feeling a little shy for the first time in years. It was ironic. Ever since I had a miscarriage, Basil barely touched me again. The rare times he did, he'd just lie there afterwards smoking in silence. I only learned after my death that I miscarried because Amanda had secretly given me herbal medicine that caused heavy bleeding. Phineas came out of the bathroom in his pajamas, hair damp, a towel in hand. He came over and gently wiped my hands. He had quite a bit to drink. His lips and the corners of his eyes were flushed, giving him an unexpectedly seductive charm. "What's wrong?" Deep in thought. "Are you nervous?" I shook my head, pushing away all the tangled feelings. Maybe it was better not to have kids, less to hold me back. "I'm more worried I won't be able to control myself," I teased. Phineas chuckled. "Go take a shower. I've already heated the water for you." Blushing, I dawdled into the bathroom. Halfway through my shower, the lights suddenly went out. I yelped and stood up just as Phineas walked in with a lit candle. He froze for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was low and husky. "My wife is full of surprises." The rest unfolded naturally. His touch burned as it wrapped around me, and I melted like water in his arms. Just as I was about to lose consciousness from sheer pleasure, the lights flickered back on. Phineas's inky black eyes locked onto me like I was his entire universe. In my previous life, I hadn't seen Phineas that often. I'd only thought of him as cold and aloof. Amanda used to complain that after they married, he was always at school, sometimes sleeping in the office. He went from teacher to professor, handed over every paycheck to her. Amanda would dress herself up glamorously, sipping lattes and shopping all day, while he died with only 2 threadbare work outfits to his name. The more I thought about it, the more my heart ached. Phineas noticed something was off. He leaned down and kissed me. "Juliet, what's wrong? Did I hurt you?" I hugged him tighter. "You're perfect, my love. From now on, I'll treat you so well." He kissed me deeper, whispering something I couldn't catch. All I heard after that was a soft sigh. The next morning, I couldn't even get out of bed. Totally expected. Blushing furiously, I clumsily crawled out of the covers, only to be pulled right back in by Phineas. "Where are you going so early?" I was gonna make breakfast. He wrapped his arms around me and stayed in bed for a while longer before finally getting up. "You were too exhausted last night. Sleep a bit more. I'll cook." As I stared at the red marks covering his back, I buried my face under the blankets. Maybe marrying Phineas wasn't such a bad thing after all. Chapter 5. Life with Phineas had become so sweet and cozy that I almost forgot Amanda even existed. Until one day, Basil suddenly came looking for me. To be honest, across both lifetimes, I'd rarely gotten angry with Basil. For that time period, he was considered a decent husband, a responsible father. Aside from not loving me, he hadn't done much wrong. But when he looked me straight in the eye and told me to give Phineas back to Amanda, I snapped. The fury that surged up in me was almost uncontrollable. "What about me?" I asked. He seemed caught off guard by my words. His mouth opened, and it took him a while to mumble, "I'll marry you." Then, as if gaining confidence from his own nonsense, he repeated more firmly, "You two get a divorce. I'll marry you." I let out a sharp laugh. "And then what?" "Then we'll live a good life. Obviously," Basil added. "Don't worry. I won't mind that you've been married before. If God could see inside my head right now, he'd see so many question marks exploding out of my skull they'd pierce the heavens." I stared at him, completely in disbelief. "You think you're better than Phineas? Why the hell would I pick you?" He blurted out, "Because you owe Amanda." "What?" Back at the group date, Amanda was the one who had a crush on Professor Phineas first. "You were her best friend. How could you steal him from her? Amanda's been crying every day at home. She's sick now. If anything happens to her, it'll be your fault." At this point, I was convinced these two had something seriously wrong with them. One lives to steal what doesn't belong to her. The other lives for his own martyr complex, emotionally moved by his own sacrifices. I took a deep breath, forcing down the storm inside me. "Leave, right now, or I'll beat you to death." "Basil, you and Amanda are truly a match made in hell. You two should be tied together forever. Just stop dragging other people down with you. You're nothing but an average, overconfident, bottom-tier man." Chapter 6. I literally kicked Basil out of the house. He tripped as he ran and landed face-first like a total clown, hands on my hips. I stood at the doorway and laughed out loud. Being the crazy woman felt surprisingly good. But when I turned around, there was Phineas, holding a box of pastries, watching me. Crap, did he just hear what I said? I felt awkward, trying to think of how to smooth it over. But to my surprise, even after dinner, he didn't bring it up at all. After showering, I knocked on the study door. Phineas was staring into space but waved me over when he saw me. The moment I got close, he pulled me into his arms. He buried his face in my chest. "Babe, I want to confirm something." "What is it?" "Okay, fine. Talk is one thing, but can we not do this while you're nibbling on my ear?" Then he whispered in a low, husky voice, "Argentina won the 2022 World Cup." At first, my brain was still foggy. I didn't understand why he suddenly brought that up. Then, like lightning, it hit me. My eyes flew open wide. "Phineas!" He quickly covered my mouth. "Shoot, Mom and Dad are sleeping." My heart was beating so fast it might have exploded. The romantic mood was instantly replaced by sheer surprise. You too?" I stammered. He nodded. "Yeah, I've been reborn too." That explained everything. Why he had agreed to go out with me so easily that day. Why he showed such inexplicable hostility toward Amanda. Why he urged me to take the college entrance exam. Tears welled up in my eyes from sheer joy. That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. A star like him fading into obscurity in his last life, it was like a bone stuck in my throat. Bitter and suffocating. But now, the heavens had opened their eyes and granted him a second chance. I dove into his arms, slowly wrapping mine around him. He held me tightly and carried me into the bedroom. We lay down, perfectly nestled into each other. His embrace gave me a deep sense of peace and safety. I lay there, eyes closed, thinking for a moment before finally asking. Back then, with Amanda, what really happened? Amanda used to tell me all kinds of things about Phineas. That he was cold, quiet, withdrawn, and arrogant to the point of being unbearable. I'd always assumed those traits were why their marriage fell apart. But then Phineas told me the truth. He'd been tricked into that marriage from the start. At first, I really believed she liked me, but on our wedding night, she wouldn't let me touch her, and cried, saying my mom had humiliated her with the jade bracelet. I explained to her over and over that my mom didn't mean anything by it, but she refused to listen. Later, I even begged her, lowered myself completely, and she would still deliberately humiliate me in front of others. After I got cancer, She finally told me she regretted the relationship not long after it began, but she didn't want to give up being the wife of a professor. She didn't want to lose that title. So she dragged it out with me for an entire lifetime, even after I died. She wouldn't let me go. My body was still lying in the funeral hall when she pulled Basil into her arms. Crying and kissing him, she told him how much she hated me, how blind she'd been to marry me. But when I think about it, I was the real fool. I wasted my whole life on someone like her. When Phineas spoke, it was like he was recounting someone else's story. But I knew he carried just as much pain as I did. I patted his shoulder gently. You don't need to say more. I know. And because I knew, my heart ached even more for him. Phineas kissed my forehead, then suddenly said, "Actually, that day, I saw it." Saw what? I asked, sitting up a little, only for him to lift my chin and kiss me again, deeply. "I saw you cover the hole in my shirt with your handkerchief." In his past life, Phineas died of cancer. Unlike most cancer patients, he looked almost peaceful, as if asleep, but just one wall away. Amanda was whining to someone. He was so selfish, making me a widow at such a young age. My life has been so hard. I remembered seeing his body lying in the coffin. His shirt had a tear in it. I felt a tightness in my chest. This man had been good in every way, except his marriage. He spent his whole life in loneliness, but Amanda was my best friend. I hadn't dared to say anything, so I pulled out the handkerchief I always carried, folded it neatly, and tucked it into the shirt, giving him one last bit of dignity. As I remembered all this, Phineas's voice began to tremble. He held me tighter, deepening the kiss, and in that moment of overwhelming emotion, he cried, "Juliet, thank God for you. This time around, let's live our lives, truly." Chapter 7. I threw myself into preparing for the college entrance exam, while Phineas bought books and started studying computer science. The next few decades would be the golden age of the internet. We couldn't afford to miss this opportunity. In the midst of all this, I heard the news. Amanda and Basil were getting married. She had someone deliver a wedding invitation, asking me to come to their banquet. After sharing half a lifetime with her, I had once believed we were as close as real sisters. Never thought a man would push us this far apart. Still, I figured, now that she got what she wanted, let's see if she could actually be happy with it. On the wedding day, Amanda wore a red dress. Her face was unreadable, showing no real emotion. Basil, on the other hand, was beaming. He drank from one end of the banquet hall to the other. At one point, drunk, he tried to grab Amanda's hand, only for her to dodge him with a subtle turn of the body. I saw everything, couldn't quite say what I was feeling inside. Around 4 p.m., Phineas arrived to pick me up after class. He was wearing the shirt and slacks I'd just bought for him, looking handsome in a way that made my heart skip. I couldn't help but steal a couple kisses. The moment I got on the back of his bicycle, my gaze met Amanda's from across the courtyard. She had just spotted Phineas too, and in her eyes, a flicker of admiration passed. But Phineas only looked down at me. He smiled and bent down to roll up my pant leg properly. "Ready?" he said. A few days later, Amanda knocked on our door. She looked awkward and unsure of herself, then mumbled an apology. "Juliet, I was wrong. Please don't ignore me anymore." I said nothing, just let her in for a short visit. From then on, it was as if she'd forgotten all the bad blood between us. Every couple of days, she'd show up at my house. Sometimes she'd linger near dinner time, casually glancing toward the entrance. "Professor Phineas still not home yet? He sure works hard." Huh? The Professor Phineas in her mouth had been teaching evening classes all week just to avoid her. I didn't call her out on her little act. I simply smiled and said, "He's been busy lately. He'll be home a bit later." Amanda gave a small O, her face visibly disappointed. I looked at her and asked, "Basil should be getting off work soon, right? Shouldn't you head home and make dinner for him?" She scoffed. "He can feed himself. Comes home all sweaty and stinking. Still wants to be treated like a king? Dream on." I said nothing, just kept a soft smile on my face. After she left, Phineas finally dared to come home. He frowned slightly. "When are you going to cut her off completely? I've been hiding out at school all day. I miss you." Maybe it was the pent-up frustration from our two past lives, But the current version of Phineas was like a clingy little cat with a mischievous streak. In private, he was hopelessly affectionate, always hanging on me, and his flirting had gotten bold. Sometimes it left me blushing down to my toes. I nudged him with a half-playful scold. Once I'm done with exams, and you get your certification, let's move to City A as planned. We're still surrounded by neighbors here. Don't want a big scene. Phineas kissed me and replied, "Okay, whatever my wife says goes." Chapter 8. Despite all his dodging, Phineas finally ran into Amanda. It was rare to have a weekend free, and Amanda came knocking bright and early. The moment she stepped in, she saw Phineas sitting on the couch. She quickly blushed and rushed over. "Professor Phineas, what are you doing?" he asked. Glancing toward the kitchen, where I was cooking, he instinctively scooted away from her. But Amanda didn't care. She sat right next to him. "Oh, it's nothing. I just heard you're a teacher, and there are some words in my books I don't recognize. Can you help me?" She wore a crossed-collar dress, her chest generously exposed. Phineas's face darkened with barely suppressed anger. His eyes were already laced with cold disdain. He let out a sarcastic snort and stood up. "Amanda, please have some self-respect. My wife is right there in the kitchen." And with that, he turned and walked off without looking back. Amanda's eyes immediately turned red. She bit her lip hard in frustration, then turned her head, only to meet my calm, frosty gaze. She instinctively shrank back. "Juliet, are you done cooking?" I nodded. "Yeah, if I weren't, I wouldn't have caught such a great little scene." I don't know what you're talking about," she mumbled, playing dumb. Then she tried to change the subject. "Juliet, why do you guys have so many books here? Are they all Professor Phineas's?" "No, they're mine. I'm studying for the college entrance exam." Sure enough, Amanda's expression shifted slightly. She forced a smile. "Why though? You're already married. Why go through all that stress? Is Phineas treating you badly?" I shrugged. "Not at all. He's the one who encouraged me. He even said once I get in, he'll try to find me a job at the school." Amanda's face fell. She'd always believed, deep down, that she was better than me. And so, she always had to compete, even if I never noticed before. Back then, I was naive and thought our friendship meant everything. If she wanted to compare, I let her win. If she wanted compliments, I gave them. I indulged her in everything. And still, she was capable of cozying up to my husband in front of my corpse. Thinking back now, how much of Basil's coldness toward me was because of her? How proud must she have been, knowing my husband stayed faithful because of her? "Well, Amanda, if you love competing so much, I'll make sure you never win again." She didn't contact me for several days after that, which was perfect. I could focus entirely on studying. One day while visiting my mom, I overheard her gossiping. Amanda had fought with her husband again. Apparently, she declared she wanted to take the college entrance exam too. Basil, being a technician, didn't understand much about it, but he said fine and even bought her some books. After 2 days of cramming, Amanda was dizzy and overwhelmed. She ended up picking a fight with Basil, slapped him on the head, and even injured him. When I heard all that, I felt an incredible sense of poetic justice. Karma. At last, I dove even deeper into my studies, completely energized. The night before the exam, Amanda showed up at my place unexpectedly. She brought over a pot of chicken soup, saying it was for good luck. "Juliet, I made this just for you. It's from an old hen my mother-in-law raised for 3 years. The flavor's amazing, try some." I stared at the golden broth and raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, no, I'm not drinking that." She blinked. "Why? Are you afraid I put something in it?" "Aha, guilty conscience much?" I shrugged. "Exactly. I think you poisoned it." Amanda's face twisted in frustration, then quickly smoothed over with a smile. "We've been sisters for over 10 years. You really think I'd do something like that? That's so hurtful. If you don't believe me, I'll drink it myself." She poured herself a bowl and gulped it down. Then she poured another one and handed it to me. "There, believe me now?" Watching her forced smile, I gave her one of my own. "I believe you." But just then, Phineas's voice called from inside the house. "Juliet, your mom's asking for you. Come here quick." Okay, I replied cheerfully, not even looking at Amanda's now green-purple face as I turned and followed Phineas back inside. The next day, Phineas took time off work to go with me to the exam. When I came out of the building, he handed me a thermos. By the way, Amanda had diarrhea all night and ended up in the hospital, with a brain like hers. I can't believe I let her play me for over 20 years. I laughed and looked at him. It's fine. You weren't the only victim. Phineas laughed too. He reached out to wipe a drop of water from the corner of my lips. Yeah, we're comrades in pain, both tripped over the same rock. Well, may Basil enjoy that blessing for the rest of his life. As for us, we've got better days ahead. Chapter 9. We strolled home hand in hand. Just as we reached the door, we saw someone crouching like a lump at the entrance. Basil? What the hell are you doing here? He looked eerie, all curled up outside someone else's house in the dark. When Basil saw me, a flood of emotions crossed his face. He rushed toward me, but when he noticed I was holding Phineas's hand, he halted, stepping back. Why? He asked. I blinked. What? He stared at me like his world had collapsed. Why did you choose him? I tilted my head, obviously because he's handsome and has a great body. No, that's not it. You were supposed to be my wife. He grabbed my wrist, eyes crazed. Juliet, you were supposed to marry me. We even had a child. Don't you remember? His hand was ice cold, but his grip was tight, painfully tight. That's when it clicked. Basil had been reborn too. Seeing how agitated he was, Phineas stepped forward and shielded me. Basil, what the hell are you doing at someone else's door in the middle of the night? Let go of my wife. Shut up. She's my wife. Basil roared. We were married for 20 years. I buried her with my own hands. Who the hell are you to take her from me? Hearing that, I couldn't hold back anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. Oh, now you remember I was your wife? My voice was shaking with rage as I ground out every word. Then why, when I was lying dead, were you cuddled up with Amanda, whispering sweet nothings? Aren't you two soulmates? Weren't you staying pure for her, giving me the cold shoulder for years? Basil, we were married for 2 decades. Don't you dare pretend you don't know how you treated me. Why did I die? Why did I get lung cancer? Wasn't it because you kept thinking about Amanda? Because you chain smoked in our bedroom every single day? I was 40. You bastard. The fury from my past life came rushing back. I trembled all over. This weak, selfish man had emotionally tormented me for years. And now, after everything, he had the audacity to act like the victim? Tell me, Basil, if it hadn't been for Amanda, would I have miscarried? My words hit like blows. Basil swayed on his feet, his face going from shock to guilt to utter despair. With a thud, he dropped to his knees in front of me. I'm sorry, baby. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I can't live without you. The man kneeling in front of me was in filthy work clothes, sweat and grime clinging to him. Clearly, life with Amanda hadn't been going so well. Nothing like when he was with me, hot meals, warm tea, pampered like a king. So what did he want now? Did he miss me, or just miss having a live-in maid? Even Basil himself probably didn't know. Phineas and I stood there, watching him sob, our faces cold. After exchanging a quick look, Phineas stepped forward and peeled Basil's hand off mine. His voice was icy. If you truly love Juliet, then fine, we can compete fairly. But only if you're a free man. Right now, your wife's still in the hospital waiting for you. Go take care of her. Don't stand here and smear Juliet's name. Then he pulled me inside and shut the door behind us. Once we were in private, I leaned in close. If Basil gets a divorce, would you really let me go, Professor Phineas? He pinned me to the wall and kissed me breathless. That was a lie. Don't even think about it. You're mine. Chapter 10. The college entrance exam results came out. I got into a university in City A. I discussed it with Phineas and his parents, and we decided to sell the house and move the whole family there. While we were packing, I overheard that Amanda had brought up divorce with Basil. This time, Basil didn't even try to stop her. They finalized the paperwork quickly. In our small town, divorce was considered scandalous. The streets buzzed with gossip, everyone trying to guess who cheated on whom. I was only out buying groceries when Amanda snuck into our house. The door had been left open for the move. She went straight upstairs, where Phineas was sorting his books. When he turned around and saw Amanda completely naked on the bed, he nearly jumped out of his skin. "What the hell? Are you out of your mind? Put your clothes on." But Amanda was unfazed. She stood up and slowly walked toward him. "Honey, I know you've come back too. I was wrong in our past life. I shouldn't have ignored you." She'd done her makeup, styled her hair, and wore her most flattering expression. In her mind, her figure was better than mine anyway. Step by step, she tried to draw him in with sultry eyes and seductive glances. Her logic was simple. Men are easy. Coax them a bit, tempt them a little, nothing they won't fall for. It had worked wonders on Basil last time. He'd fallen so hard he was practically glued to her. Cheating on me right under my nose. So what if this guy was a stiff, nerdy professor? Surely, he couldn't resist. But she had underestimated both Phineas's pride as a man and his moral compass. He stormed downstairs and bolted into the street, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Whose old sow ran away? She's butt naked in my house." It was evening. Everyone had just come back from work and were chatting in little groups outside. Hearing the commotion, curious neighbors rushed in. Amanda didn't even have time to dress properly. She was seen in full by every man, woman, and child present. I returned home, groceries in hand, just as I heard a loud shriek from inside. Roars of laughter followed as Amanda wrapped herself in a blanket and fled out the front door. As she passed me, she shot me a glare full of hate and humiliation. I instantly figured out what had happened. I turned to look for Phineas, only to see him leaning casually against the wall with his arms crossed, watching me with a smirk. The gossiping crowd buzzed behind us, throwing out crude comments about Amanda's legs and figure. But I was already lost in the soft look in Phineas's eyes. He reached out, took my hand, and kissed me like he was presenting a prize. "Babe, revenge, served hot." "This idiot." I laughed and gently patted his head. So calm under pressure. "Our Professor Phineas is amazing." He leaned in and whispered, "Then you better reward me properly tonight." Chapter 11. Rumors spread like wings. And soon, the entire town was laughing at Amanda's scandal. Her parents were mortified. They locked her inside and beat her half to death. My mom said her dad lost control, hit her so hard the stick scraped her face, and the scar might never heal. I got into a university in City A, and Phineas got accepted to the same one. I studied literature. He majored in computer science. After graduation, he stayed to pursue his PhD while I joined a fast-rising top-tier company. In our first year out of school, we bought our first home and brought his parents to live with us. Thanks to a solid budget, we got a spacious 4-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment, comfortable and cozy. 2 years later, Phineas became a lecturer at the university. We had saved up some money, and before housing prices skyrocketed, we bought a second, smaller apartment as an investment. During that time, I got pregnant. It was a bit of a fragile pregnancy, so I took extended leave to rest at home. Phineas's parents were old school, career-minded people. Despite their age, they still worked at respectable places. To give us space, they moved back into their work-provided housing. Our days were peaceful, sweet, and steady. To make up for the regrets of our past life, I often bought Phineas lots of clothes, dressed him up handsomely, stylishly. His students would gush about how elegant and charming he looked. Phineas never said much about it. He let me have my fun, then used it as leverage to tease and bargain for affection in return. In our last life, we both died of cancer. So now, we got annual checkups religiously. So far, we were both perfectly healthy. I knew my lung cancer had been caused by secondhand smoke, but I had never figured out why Phineas had gotten stomach cancer. Until a doctor told me, the digestive system is highly sensitive to emotions. Long-term stress can be a major trigger. Phineas hugged me and whispered, "Maybe it's just because I'm truly happy this time. That's why my stomach's doing great." Still, I created a strict diet plan for him. 5 years into marriage, our love hadn't faded, it had only deepened. At 7 months pregnant, he accompanied me to a prenatal checkup. Just as we entered the hospital lobby, we heard a familiar argument. Not far away, Amanda stood there, visibly pregnant, furiously yelling at the man across from her. "Useless piece of trash! You can't even provide for your wife and child. What kind of man are you? The scar on her cheek shifted grotesquely with each word. The man exploded. Shut up. If you hadn't forced me to quit and move to Beijing, would I have gotten into that accident? Would I be disabled now? I lost my hand. I can't find work. And you're the one complaining? This is all your fault. You damn jinx. It was Basil. After everything, somehow, they were still together. He looked filthy, worn down, his clothes tattered, his right sleeve hung limp, his hand gone, face twisted with rage. He lunged toward Amanda. It's all your fault. I should have had a good wife, a stable job. We would have had a house, a car. I would have been a chief engineer, respected in my field. But you ruined everything. People around them held him back. And then, the helplessness finally crushed him. Basil sank to his knees, clutching his head, sobbing. Why did you come back to me? Why? Even now, he thought Amanda was the root of it all. Amanda's eyes were cold as ice. Her voice was even colder. I knew it. You've never let go of Juliet. If you loved her so much, why didn't you go find her? Why, in our last life, did you insist on staying with me? You're the kind of man who wants to have his cake and eat it too. You deserved to lose your hand. It's karma. Just as she finished, our eyes met across the lobby. This time, she didn't come storming toward me. She simply turned and walked up the stairs. Basil stayed kneeling for a long time before finally staggering away. Numb and broken, Phineas and I exchanged a glance, then quietly pretended nothing had happened. After the checkup, he gently wrapped his arm around me and whispered, Wife, I'm so glad I have you. God, this man. I laughed and squeezed his hand. You're not so bad either. Husband. I knew he was feeling the same thing I was. Watching that scene had stirred something in us both. Two people, once beaten down and broken, had been given a second chance to have each other, to have a child. It still felt like a dream. Maybe, in trying to anchor one another, we held hands a little tighter, our warmth interlaced, hearts slowly settling down again. Just as we stepped out of the hospital, a loud noise rang through the air. Someone jumped. Hurry, get a doctor, there's so much blood. Look, he's missing a left hand. Life must have been too hard. Where's his family? Who knows? Out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed a familiar brown shirt, but Phineas and I both chose not to look back. We walked to our car. Phineas opened the passenger door for me. He helped buckle my seatbelt, kissed my forehead, then pulled out a blanket and draped it over my lap. Let's go home, babe. Okay. Off we go, baby. Let's go home and eat. Behind us, another wave of white-coated doctors rushed out. Whether he lived or died, we'd never know. Passing by us, running up the hospital steps, was Amanda, also heavily pregnant. Our car pulled away, growing smaller in the distance. In the end, we were never meant to walk the same road.